continue to believe that Congress is going to do the right thing and get Vermont the resources that we need and deserve in our time of crisis. And if they don't, the consequences are so grave financially that while a checkoff would be helpful, as you can see, this one raised about $43,000. We're talking about a $500 million challenge, and it boggles the mind to think of where Vermont would find $500 million at a time when Vermonters had no extra cash in their pockets. So our focus really has to be Congress. We need to get, and I know the Senator Sanders, and Congressman Welch are working hard to spread that message every day. If there's any one thing that keeps your current governor from sleeping at night, it is this question: will Congress lift the cap, as they've always done in major storms in America, to make sure that Vermonters are taken care of and can rebuild in our time of crisis and our time of need?
Is there anything that's happened in the last week or two that gives you any more encouragement or sense of optimism that Congress is going to act?
By nature, I'm an optimist. I just find it inconceivable that at a time when we have so much need and when the need is so obvious, that in the end we won't prevail. I think we will. But no, there's nothing concrete because nothing's happened in the last 2 weeks of significance.
And if this thing gets pushed off, they're talking about different continuing resolutions. At what point does it become a problem for Vermont if we drift into January, February, March without a federal budget, and it's uncertain for the state? When does that become a problem for us?
Every week it's more of a problem than it was the week before, because we're getting bills from contractors. We have to pay our agency of transportation workers, municipal communities, municipal communities to get mandates. So every week we're in tougher shape than we were the week before. Clearly, if it's February or March, we have a much better problem. We've got to get this resolved. This really is, I can't say enough that with all of the good intentions of Vermonters and suggestions for raising money to help us through this one, $500 million, $600 million, that's a huge number, and it's just not. Vermonters don't have that kind of change in their pockets.
Have you heard any response to Congressman Welch's memo that was sent to members of the House Appropriations Committee yesterday? Are you hearing anything from Congressman Welch about any feedback about whether or not?
We're in almost constant contact about everything that we can think of to help move this along. And they're doing a great job. Congressman Welch, Senator Lee, Senator Sanders. But there's no new recent developments from his letter that I've heard about.
What do you think of what Common Cause has been saying over the last couple of days, suggesting illegal campaign contributions in the last election?
Well, my understanding is that they never actually had the press conference to make the suggestion. So in fairness to them,
they've called it off.
They've called it off. So I'm not going to comment too much on something that hasn't been suggested. All I can tell you is that the issue that they raise, listen, there's no one that's spot harder for campaign finance laws than yours truly. I sponsored the one that got turned down by the United States Supreme Court, and I'm deeply troubled by the citizens' decision that I believe undermines the best of states' campaign finance laws, because corporations can spend as much as they want as independent expenditures and never have to say who spent it, how much they spent, or where it came from. So we have a real dilemma in this country. Having said that, I believe that my campaign, and probably most campaigns that had primaries, followed the federal judge and the decision in 2008 that was made in the case of Anthony Polina, where it was deemed appropriate to accept $2,000 contributions in primaries when you had someone that was willing to give you $2,000. And that was advocated by the Secretary of State's office. It was litigated in the federal court. The decision was made, and I think you'll find that almost anyone who had a primary followed that custom in Vermont. So it is legal. That's what we did. And I suspect that if you check with anyone else that had a primary, Republican or Democrat, you'd find that they probably followed a similar understanding based upon the 2008 court decision. So no laws were broken.
Governor, would you support a searchable database for campaign contributions? I know that Jim Kondo says that it would cost a seemingly very large sum of money, and I kind of wonder if that's really what it would cost. But they're saying $600,000 to $1 million to do that. But what if you just had a database that started, from last year on? Would you support funding that kind of
I don't know.
transparency?
I don't know exactly how the dollars and cents work in terms of what it would cost. All I can tell you is I think that transparency and immediate reporting is one of the things that would help in light of the citizens' decision. And whenever we can have transparency and instantaneous reporting, which should be possible with technology today, that's a good thing for the public and a good thing for democracy.
The searchable database in particular, would you favor that? I mean, it would make it easier to identify donors and amounts and
I have
source
never
of
believed
information.
that if you're accepting money, you should have anything to hide. So the answer is yes.
How many $2,000 contributions did you get?
Oh my God, I can't remember. All I can tell you is those of us that were able to solicit $2,000 contributions did, and we were always happy to get them. Particularly in a world where, literally, look at the gubernatorial campaign as an example. There were independent expenditures, both sides, for Peter Shumlin and Brian Dooley as an example, over which we had no control. The content of those ads, what they said, or who paid for them, that probably exceeded or were close to $1 million apiece for each candidate in Vermont. I don't think that's a good way to run elections in Vermont. And I think one of the reasons that campaign was so uncharacteristic of the way we run campaigns in Vermont was because of outside expenditures as a result of citizens. So it's a real problem. We have a huge problem here. But it's discouraging. That's one of the reasons I hope so badly that we'll have some new Supreme Court justices soon who understand the difference between a citizen's right to donate money to candidates and corporations' seeming desire to buy elections or influence elections unduly with millions and millions of dollars where they don't even have to say who gave it, how much they gave, or why they gave it. It's a real problem.
Isn't it just really a matter of changing the tax code?
No, it's a matter of, we took on, when we tried to pass a real campaign finance bill in Vermont, we knew we were up against Buckley-Vallejo. And the citizens' decision is worse than Buckley-Vallejo. So it took a bad situation and made it worse. And we're up against the United States Supreme